The Borrowers. 6 out of 10. A story that really captures the imagination. Uh, it really gets you in the mind of a child. There is a lot of funny moments, characters that are heartwarming. There's love and hope and just a future in this book. And so, if that's all you wanted to know, 6 out of 10. I think if you have any young children who are above like first grade reading level, I think this would be great for them. If you're an adult and just want a little book that you can probably finish in a day, I also think you should read this. Hello, my name is Dawson Hunt. I will read the books that you've never heard of and review them. So, The Borrowers is a little different than any of the books that I usually read, as you can tell. This thing is a children's book or a young child's book. And it was recommended because my wife said that she really liked the story. And I thought that meant that she had read the book and I could talk to her about it. It means that she had watched the movie a long time ago and she likes the concept. So I kind of got hoodwinked there into reading a cute book, but I'm happy I did. The story is that, you know, humans, I actually kind of talk about this in my book, we're really good at losing things. Like small things, big things. We misplace it. We swear that we bought batteries, or we for sure know that we have more hair ties or sewing pens or things like that. And this book gives the explanation that there are tiny people living in our house. And spoilers for this book uh, going forward, by the way, that there are tiny people living in our house and that they actually steal those things. But they don't steal, they borrow, which is, I think, a kind of brilliant thing. The main character is a young girl, and she talks to one of the human boys, and the human boy goes, "So you're just a thief?" And she goes, I think her name is Annalena or something. No, we just borrow. It's what we're meant to do, it's what we're made for. Humans are made for us to be borrowed from. And in a way, it's almost like God made the earth for humans to have dominion over it. I don't know. It's really interesting because, like, in the context of the world, what's a battery? What's a lost pen? What's some loose cloth that got missing? Nothing to us. Like we spend money like it's nothing, even when we don't have it. But it's their whole world. So, like, can you steal so little that it's not stealing? Like, is it just borrowing? I I don't know. I think it's kind of cute though. So, anyways, this family, they're borrowers. They the dad gets seen, and what's seen, I mean, just they get noticed, and that usually means that they got to get out of there and go find another spot. But they decide to stick around. The young daughter also gets seen, but she talks to the boy who is in the house. He's like a 9-year-old boy, and they start getting talking and you know get to know each other, the world, how each other lives. The boy helps them, and in the end, the boy's aunt and uncle find out about the borrowers, and they have to leave anyways. And I'll talk about the ending in a second because I think the ending is really great. This story is in the context of someone telling it. So, I think a pretty famous example of that nowadays is The Way of Kings, or not The Way of Kings, that's Sanderson. King Killer Chronicles with Coat and Quoth. That he is telling his story to chronicle, and there's obviously not an end to that series yet, so we don't know if Coat is an unreliable storyteller yet. But this story does play with that, which I think is really fun. I love an ending that makes you think, but not in like a cheesy way or like tries to end it on some like poetic quote or something like that. So we find out that the aunt telling the story found the young girl's journal, and that's how she knows the story. But the young girl's journal is written in the same handwriting as her younger brother, who was the boy in the story. So, did he come up with all this? Did he actually find these people? I don't know. And I think that's a really cute way of ending the story. I think At the beginning of the book, with the plot being a story, I thought that was kind of cheap. I was like, I think I would have liked to just kind of jump into the world of borrowers. And I thought it was like kind of like it's a kid's story, so you can't really explain. You have to explain to them why things are different. But if I think this was like a YA dystopian, honestly, this could be like a kind of YA dystopian or just a young adult book. You would start in the world and then learn more about it, and then you would discover that they're actually tiny people, not adults, and you kind of have this play with that and figuring those things out. But for a children's book, it's very easy to like, all right, you're in the real world. Here's the story world, where in this story, people are smaller and bigger. And then in the end, I actually really liked that storytelling because I think it does allow the ending to be really good. And I think that's one of the reasons I really enjoyed this book was for the ending. I love endings in books. Um, I love good endings in books. That's why I will not rate a series unless the story is complete. Um, but yeah, I think the characters are very relatable. A boy who's just has no one else to talk to, and he finds this tiny person, and he's kind of confused and wants to help because he has such a big heart. The daughter who is trapped and doesn't want to be in a hole all her life. And so she finds someone to talk to and finds a friend and finds some adventure. And so I think everyone kind of gets a happy ending. Obviously, kids' book. It's beautiful. There's some beautiful illustrations in this book that is written like I don't know. I like this um, old style book. Very interesting with it being a kids' book, and I think it's with women and girls being the one who reads books. I would have been really interested in what this book looks like if it was targeted towards young boys. It's targeted towards young girls for a couple of obvious reasons. One, it's a pink book. Hate me for that. Two, the main character is a girl. But three, the main character is a girl who doesn't want to be seen as a girl, but wants to be seen as if the father had a son, because the son would have then been out borrowing with the father. And that's where this feminist propaganda like kind of takes place, and I think is fascinating in a book from when is this book written? 1953. You have this notion that the girl shouldn't be treated as a girl, but as if the father had a son. And I don't love it. I don't love it for a couple of reasons. I don't. It feels forced, like it does. Like the conflict of, well, I would have been out already feels kind of forced because the father talks about how hard it is. Like he's a tiny dude. Like, could you imagine if your job was carrying bookshelves and hunting and foraging and climbing and running? Like that's a super tiring job. And so a like 9-year-old girl doing that's a dangerous job. I don't see any other way that what he's doing is super dangerous and super taxing on his body. That male and females are, built differently and they have different muscle structure and bone structure, whatever. That isn't really brought up of, you know, it is in the sense of this is a hard job and he talks about it like he's getting old, but she doesn't come up with a new way of borrowing. She kind of, I don't know, I guess she does. But I think that's the thing. In the end, her being a girl and her empathy for the young boy is what really saves the family. I would have loved to see that pinned on her being a woman, and it wasn't. We have the conflict of her not being a boy, but it's not resolved by the beauty of her being a girl, which I think could have been a beautiful story. I think that this really could have spoken and encouraged girls that, maybe you can't be out foraging for things and borrowing like your old man, but you can be friendly, you can be encouraging, you can be empathetic, you can be understanding in a way that boys struggle way more with, and that's really the strength, is that she was a girl, and that was the reason that the family kind of succeeded in the end, but they never bring it back to that. And so I think that there are elements for a better story in here. It's not super long. I don't want to dog it too much for being a kid's book or anything. But I think the main message of using your strengths that you're given could have been highlighted more. What is the book trying to say? Probably nothing. I'm gonna be honest. I think that the author just had a really fun idea and wanted to write about it and got someone to draw cute photos. And I think that's totally fine. Like, I would feel no problem letting my girl or younger son read this book when I have one. Um, because I think that, it is imaginative. It is telling a story of bridging the gap between two worlds and how to work together, and of empathy and of caring for little people. The final thing I'll talk about in this book is the perspectives that each character is given. When they first meet, like I said, the main girl, that little girl, says that her dad says that humans are dying now because he's only seen two of them, and a third, the young boy who comes in. And the boy says, "Well, I don't think you guys exist because I've only ever seen you three." And I think they handle this really well, where the main girl goes, "Well, there's more of us." And the boy asks her to prove it, and she says, "Well, I haven't seen any more." But the young boy is able to tell about the thousands upon thousands of humans that he has seen. And I think it's just like perspective, that we need to be able to hear each other out, hear what perspectives we're coming from, or we're going to, or how we grew up, or how we lived, that I think can help bring us together and will shock us. I think learning about someone else's childhood or how they see the world can like genuinely shock us in a way that we won't be able to comprehend it in that moment. I think that's okay. I think together we can, learn from each other. And I love how in the end the boy says, "I am a borrower." And I hope you will borrow too.